Let's pray, actually. And then we'll start.
Cool. What are you sipping on?
I am sipping on some decaf from Pete's Coffee.
I think it's a medium roast. Roots to medium roast. And I'm having my matcha latte. Go figure.
Still
Is
at a
it good?
temperature. Did I make it too strong? That's the question.
Anyway, welcome to Sips with Saints. I am Delane, and this is Rick Bizdock. And we are your hosts of this podcast. And I think Ricky Bob prepared.
I did.
Some questions for us.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we're aware that in our intro video, we talked about my testimony, but we haven't talked about yours, and we haven't forgotten. It is coming, so stay tuned.
Yeah. I was thinking about that today. Like, there's a lot of twists and turns. I've done a lot of different things in my life. Just like, obviously, growing up in Minnesota, having a big family.
Yep.
Then, like, did a year of college, discerned out of that.
I thought you said Diddy or college.
Diddy or college, you know what I mean?
P. Diddy.
I mean P. Diddy.
No,
like
no,
this.
No.
What?
No. Oh my gosh.
Then did net. I mean, I'm kind of giving my life story right now, but I just
feel like for the both of us, there's a lot that happened.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on. I'm only 30, but I've already done a little bit of college. Felt that out a bit. It did not jive with me. I was not mature and ready to be my own.
You moved away from home.
Yeah. Then I did net for 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Which essentially moved away from home, but I was on the road.
Yeah.
Doing retreats and whatever for kids. Then I moved away from home. I came back, worked at Chipotle for a while, just did that work life type thing where it's like you're just working, making minimum wage, not really getting ahead, no real plan for my life. Then I randomly got a job as a music director for a church in Nowheresville. I mean, the greatest place in the world, Crawfordsville, India. No, they know it's kind of middle of nowhere too. Crawfordsville, never heard of it before. West of Indianapolis, about an hour.
And we got married there.
Honestly, it's cute. It's a cute town.
It is. I just, in my younger years, there's this TikTok trend where it's like, I had coffee with my younger self.
Yeah.
She ordered a triple espresso caramel drizzled crunch latte.
Wow. So sugar.
Yeah. And I ordered a black coffee or something like that. She thinks that we're gonna she's wondering if we get married and have a big wedding. I tell her, you get married in the smallest towns of towns.
Yeah.
In the middle of Indiana, which is a state I never thought I'd end up in. Anyway.
When you grew up in California, like before you left high school, did you ever was Indiana? Did you ever think about Indiana?
I don't think I knew Indiana existed.
Unless on the test when you had to do the 50 states. That was the only time.
Yep.
But then other than that, you're just
I always thought who lives in the Midwest? No one.
Cows I just thought corn.
My uncles, when they came to our wedding, they're like, what are we going to do there? Go see some corn? Yeah.
Yes. That's why we brought everyone here.
No, it's beautiful. Indiana's beautiful.
Yeah. Shade State Park.
Beautiful.
Is a gem.
Yeah. I don't think my eyeballs understood how much green I was seeing.
Yeah,
when I first went
luscious and green.
And it had just been raining.
The other wild thing is it is just farm field all around.
Yeah,
that's true. But then when the glaciers were receding in the Ice Age, for whatever reason, they missed. What happened, I know a lot about this because in Minnesota when we grew up, we heard a lot about this because we're the granite state. There's a lot of granite. There's a lot of iron in the northern part of Minnesota because the glaciers receding pulled up a lot of the soil.
I don't have to do the hand motions for you. You do it yourself.
pulled up a lot of the soil. It's hard to not move my hands.
No. That's why I gave up.
And like it's a lot easier to access the granite and the iron because there's not as much earth that you have to go through.
There's not as much earther.
I was trying to I was trying to channel my inner prospector. There's not as much earth you got to go through.
I thought you were saying usher.
You're thinking pop culture references.
I grew up in California.
I grew up in not California.
I know.
Anyway, I don't know why I'm getting so sidetracked. Anyway. But Crawfordsville is beautiful. Mm-hmm. There's a beautiful area where the flora...
He worked there for a while, and then we got met and got married, and then we moved to Minnesota, and then we got kicked out by the rector we were living in.
Yeah. There's
a lot of fun stories we need to tell.
Maybe we'll start here now.
Yeah. No, I think that's fun. But yeah, we're not talking about that today.
Yeah.
What are we talking about? Idols. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So stay tuned for Rick's testimony and more of our story because I feel like we've lived like 10 years worth of things and moves. Yeah. And I have moved so many times in the last 4 years of my life than I ever have had. Mm-hmm. Have had? Anyway, than I ever had previous to that. So.
Well, I never moved, but yeah, only a couple.
But I mean, you grew up in that house. You were born and raised in that house. So technically.
Then I moved to Indiana. That was my real first move.
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. But next time, we'll go into all that. Maybe. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Mm-hmm. We're just going with the flow, man. Going with the flow. All right. What's on the docket today, Doc? Biz Doc. That's our last name.
My question to you is...
To me?
To you.
Oh.
What are idols in the modern age?
Wow. A lot. Comfort.
What are idols in the modern age that you have encountered?
That I struggle with?
Or maybe let's define like what's an idol. Because people think that like if they're not really familiar with that terminology, they think like...
Should I read
idol? It? Yeah, go for it.
I have my handy dandy...
notebook.
I know I was going to say that.
Where we write down our clues of truth.
We are Blue's Clues. We are the Blue's Clues generation, though.
I feel like it's still going. So how do you say like...
No, I feel like Blue's Clues isn't that popular anymore. Is it?
But they still have like a
Blue's
Clues show.
But I feel like Blue's Clues was like Bluey to this generation.
I see what you mean. Like it's lost popular. It's not as like popular as it was. Yeah.
It's like the Wiggle. Like I think we were the Wiggles, the first Wiggles generation, but I could be wrong.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Wiggles started in like the late 90s, and
I think they just almost recently got popular again.
I don't know.
Anyway, not that that's important.
Also, sidetrack. We know way too much Wiggles drama.
We do. If you want to know any Wiggles, I think the kids say lore. It's so funny. We know who's dating who was previously married to who.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not important. Idols.
I think it's fun.
I think it is fun.
Speaking of idols, don't make the Wiggles your idols because they're just human. Okay, go for it.
Yes. Okay. So I always forget how to read the catechism. In I think CCC 2112, it's called idolatry. It reads, the first commandment condemns polytheism. It requires man neither to believe in nor venerate other divinities than the one true God. Scripture constantly recalls this rejection of idols of silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths but do not speak, eyes but do not see. These empty idols make their worshippers empty. Those who make them are like them, so are all who trust in them. God, however, is the living God, who gives life and intervenes in history.
What scripture verse was it quoting there? I
It
think
doesn't.
It says down by your right thumb. Because it had a quotation.
It does, but it doesn't have like a.
It should somewhere.
It doesn't have a marker of which one it would be.
Oh, okay.
Oh, there you go. 42. Psalm 115, 4-5 and 8. Also Isaiah 44, 9-20. Jeremiah 10, 1-16. Daniel 14, 1-30. I'm dumb. What is the BAR? Baruch. The whole chapter 6 of Baruch, apparently. Wisdom 13, 1-15, and verse 19. There's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And then, speaking of how God is the living God in comparison to empty idols, Joshua 3:10 and Psalm 42:3. And it says etc. I don't know what that means.
Well,
more.
Kind of part of the reason I ask is like, it's not like in the Bible, it's like, yeah, idols are kind of bad. Here's a verse or two about it. But like, it's bad enough that there are multiple verses. But I think it's also the reason that idolizing things other than God, or putting things in the place of God, which is kind of a more simple way of putting what is an idol, is when you put something that is not of the highest importance in a place of importance in your life where God should be, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like every day I should like pray, tell God that I love him, be grateful for my life and all of those things, right? And obviously honor him on Sunday and all of the things. Now if I start to put emphasis on my physical health and I work out on Sunday instead of going to church, and I eat well every day, it's like, okay, now I'm making health my idol. The reason I think there's so many verses in scripture about idolatry is it's not just like we're really good at finding ways to make idols as humans.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
In that we find a lot of things to distract ourselves with. And then it's fine to be like fanatical about football or fitness or whatever.
But how many people go during football season, watch more football than they go to church?
Yeah.
Or I think there's like a spectrum of like how you make things like an idol. I think one of the things is like, when you wake up, do you first think of Jesus, or do you first think, I'm going to go check my social media? Or do you just automatically do that? Actually, I think that's a good level of like measurement of like, wow, yeah, in a way I do idolize like having my phone and seeing random pictures of people and random videos. And
so bringing the question back to you of what idols are in the world and what idols of the world do you encounter in your own life?
In my own life.
Yeah.
So personally, like, what have I struggled making idols of?
I mean, maybe personally yourself, but like things that you've encountered through other people as well.
Okay.
Like, wow, Mr. Boobly Ba.
Well, I'll probably not name people, but...
No, that's why I said Boobly Ba.
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Boobly Ba. I think... I think it's obvious that social media and our like technology is an idol. Just based off our own experience, we said no social media for Ash Wednesday. You and me both. And like no watching TV shows, nothing like that. Just this previous Ash Wednesday. And remember how slow time went? Do you remember when we like hit midday? That's a giant crow.
Oh yeah. On the tiniest tree.
I know. Bruv, there's like a freaking wall right here. Anyway, sorry. I'm staring out the window and I just see... Oh, he's getting blown away.
I love it.
That's it. That's funny. Yeah, so we said no social media, no TV shows, nothing like that for Ash Wednesday only. And obviously we were doing the fast, so like two small meals not equaling one big meal and then one regular meal and no snacking in between. The day went so slow. I remember thinking like, wow, I could get so much done if I just like wasn't on my phone. Anyway, so definitely social media. I think comfort. I really struggle with this where I'm like, no, I want to be comfortable. And I think that one's kind of hard because it really depends on like your health and different things like that. But like overspending past our needs. Like I know I grew up that way and that's comfortable for me versus like you didn't grow up that way. So you're just like, no, we don't need to buy a new one. It's fine. We just fix it or whatever. I'm like, no, it's getting old or it's not technically broken, but it's just getting old or I don't like it. Some like very much material goods. I think vanity is an idol, big time. I see a lot, even myself, like I worry about what people think of my hair. Or quite honestly, after we had our daughter, I had to have like oral surgery and I had 2 of my teeth taken out, which you can kind of see. And I just remember, I was also breastfeeding, so I was very emotional. But I remember crying about it to Rick. I was like, I'm gonna look so ugly. I'm like, but I was in pain almost every single day because of my teeth. Because an infection had started both in the same place across my mouth.
Yeah.
How easy it is for us. Anyway, I keep getting distracted by things.
You're on topic.
Sex for sure. I just saw a TikTok about this guy who had OnlyFans. He had an OnlyFans account. He was working at a daycare. He was in the toddler restroom making content for OnlyFans.
What?
I'm not kidding. I mean, I saw it on TikTok, so don't take me.
Yeah.
Like, don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard.
Wow.
And I'm just like, how disturbed of a society are we in if this is what's happening? Anyway, that's just really sad and disheartening. So 100% sex is definitely an idol. I think I think like self-love in a sense.
I mean, those two go hand in hand. And you see that in culture, right? Like,
yeah.
Obviously, like taking care of yourself is not a problem. And obviously, like sex is a gift from God.
Well, that's a part of the commandment too. Of like love your neighbor as yourself.
Like, you can't love your neighbor if you're not loving yourself.
Yeah. But there's a very fine line.
Yeah.
Of like, I hear a lot of people saying like, well, they don't serve me anymore, so they're out of my life. Yeah. Or when the election happened, when people figured out family members or other people, friends disagree with one another and they voted for the different political sides, they're like, I don't have room for you in my life anymore. I'm like, I have room for you. Like, we can disagree. It's okay. Yeah. So I think like the self and feelings. I think feelings are a big idol. Which is hard because like we want to get rid of the mental health stigma, but like then we're not really telling people the truth. I think in a lot of behavioral sense. Yeah. There's a lot. I feel like there's a lot to name.
Yeah, and I think you can kind of riff off of this, but I used to
street rat. Sorry.
When I was younger, I used to think like being a good or a bad person was like a seesaw. Okay. So like, oh, if you're on this side, you're a bad person. But then if you shift to the other side, then you're good. Right. I thought it was just like a simple, like up or down.
Oh, you're either bad or you're good.
Yeah. Or it's just like a balance, or it's like, yeah, you're on one side or the other. But rather than that of like, oh, I care about my health, but I'm not going to idolize it. I enjoy sports, but I'm not going to idolize it, right? So maybe the next question is like, and I'll answer first, how do you balance out these things which are either neutral or good? Like you were naming some perversions of good things, right? Like sex and the various different things that I also named. But these are good things that are out of balance. How do you bring these things into balance? Because I think rather than being on the seesaw or the teeter-totter or whatever you call it, rather than being on one of the ends, being like I'm choosing this side or the other, I think we're standing in the middle, right on the
support beam.
There's a name for it, but I can't think of it. But right in the center, and we have 1 foot on each side. And the Christian life is about finding that balance.
Sure.
Right? Because we can have things of this world and we can live for the next world. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yep.
But you have to have a balance where like the things have their proper due. And I like since you've known me, I'm a Vikings fan, and it's hard to watch sometimes when they implode for no reason. And you think like, oh wow, they're going to do great this game or in the playoffs or something, and then they just completely implode.
And they just tank. Oof, pain.
That is not a problem, but internally, personally,
yes, it is. I'm just kidding.
For me, I've noticed it has become sinful in the fact where I lose my sense of peace and calm over something that is entertainment and that I can't control.
Yeah.
So it's like I realize like I have too much invested of myself into this thing where it's causing me to lose my sense of like obviously I'm a son of God, and that means that I have dignity and that I have worth and that the trials of this world are passing, right? You can say all these things, but then it's like for some reason I watch a game where I'm way over invested in a team and I'm losing my sense of self-worth. Yeah. Like, okay, I need to be able to stand on that balance beam, that teeter-totter, and I need to not allow the things of this world to suck me into losing sight of what's truly important. So I think sometimes like how we bring balance is trying to think about and realize like idolizing, like not many people are going out there building a golden statue of a calf, but idolization of things happen in like a slow, sometimes like seasonal form. What do you think about that?
I think that's really true. I think Satan knows how to, and like you said, Satan isn't creative, right? And we just watched a video yesterday of a priest saying like the devil and all of his little minions are only there just to tempt you to sin. Like that is their full focus. But he can't create anything. He can't pull anything out of thin air. So he can only twist the truth just a little bit. And I think now idolization doesn't look like a golden calf outside where everyone's woohooing. It's very, like, I just picture a snake, very sneaky. Yesterday we were taking a walk and Rick noticed that there were snake patterns in California. It's really typical that people have artificial grass on their lawn because it just is way too expensive to keep a real lawn here. And I could barely see what he was like pointing out, that there was this like slither pattern. That's hard to say.
Slither pattern.
That's hard. In the artificial grass, and I was like, wow, I can't even see that. Yeah. One, I'm blind, but also, I mean, I'm not really blind, but I have difficulty seeing. So I think that's how Satan operates now, where it's just like, yeah, I'm done with the golden calf. I'm just going to like do like little things, and then slowly you're going to realize, oh, that's an idol that I've had. And if you're not religious and you're not self-aware and trying to ground yourself in the Lord, like it's so easy to get swallowed up by those things. I think to answer your question, how do you balance, like you said, like sex isn't a bad thing. It's actually a very beautiful thing. I think we have to admit to ourselves that there is an order. And how my day, very simply, how my day should be ordered is God first. How my life should be ordered as a married woman and as a mother, God first, my husband, my children, obviously then extended family and friends and et cetera, et cetera. So I shouldn't be waking up, and this is something that like a lot of moms talk about, like I need to practice this during Lent, where I shouldn't get up at the sound of my kid waking up. I should get up earlier so I can have my time with the Lord. And truthfully, like I really struggle with that because I enjoy sleeping. I enjoy being able to have that comfort, versus I should be able to sacrifice that so I can have some time with the Lord, because he's the one who's going to ground you. He's the one that's going to point out, this is where we need work on your heart or your mind. I think a good measurement of something, that if you've made something an idol, especially when it comes to Lent, I think is a perfect time for you. I think we should fast all year long, do different fasts of some nature. It's a great form of prayer. It has been really big on my heart. But I think if you're afraid to fast from something, it's a good indicator that you've made an idol of something. Would you agree?
Yeah, back to my Vikings example. My second year when I was with Net Ministries, we were at a parish. We were part of a discipleship team.
St. Hubert?
Yeah, St. Hubert in Chanhassen. Shout out if anybody's watching.
Chanhassen.
From Chanhassen.
What a beautiful parish.
Yeah. And I had a great time there, but the reality is, because our ministry was very time heavy on the weekends, whether we're meeting with teens and doing different things, or we were at all the masses too.
Really?
So we would be, the Net team was like greeters at the door.
But they have less mass times there, right?
They do.
Because you know how Sacred Heart has like 1 billion.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
I think they had like 2 morning masses on Sunday and 1 evening mass on Sunday, which was the youth mass.
Do they have a vigil?
Team. And they had a Saturday vigil mass. I don't think
that's still a lot. I would say that's still a lot.
I can't remember if we went to the vigil mass ever.
Okay. I was just curious. Anyway.
But we're the greeters at the door, and up until that point, so I'm like 20 at the time, very big sports fan, very big football Vikings fan. That entire year, or that entire football season, I basically didn't get to watch football unless it's on like Monday night, because on the night times I was at a host home, and sometimes the host family would be like, "Oh, do you guys want to watch Monday Night Football?" The other thing, just a little side tangent, with the ministry, we were in a position where we're supposed to, even when we're at a host home, so we do the ministry during the day, kind of like a normal 9-to-5 job, and then in the evening we'd go to a family that's hosting us, letting us sleep there and feeding us and so forth. And part of our disposition as a missionary in that scenario was like, we're never supposed to be like, hey, I want to go
do this
swimming, or I want to go blah, blah, blah.
You're at the disposal.
Exactly. The
host family.
Posture is like, whatever you guys are doing, I'm going to do with you.
Invest.
Yeah, and invest.
Invest.
So it was like so hard for me to get out of, I realized how much I had made sports and entertainment an idol in my life. The fact that like I didn't want to do ministry in the mornings when the Vikings games were on. I'd want to go down and like, because there was a TV in one of the rooms, I'd want to go down and like turn that on and watch. But it's like, I gotta stand here and just greet people for mass. Like, it's kind of boring. Good morning. and I'm not like the greeting type of person. Not that I'm standoffish, but like I'm not gonna be like, good morning, how are you?
Really?
Like I'm not that bubbly.
Oh,
I'll say like good morning and like say
I feel like you're like really like, hey. I don't know.
But I'm not extremely extroverted, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You have when you think of a greeter, typically it's like someone who's really bubbly.
I just always picture
Delane,
net teams
how was your week?
being like, hi. I'm like,
yeah. Well,
hi.
that's because it's like we have to be.
Yeah.
You kind of turn the switch on.
Yeah.
It's your job, so you feel more responsibility. So I realized a lot about myself that I didn't want to say yes to doing what I was responsible for, and I wanted to say no to that so that I could, again, in a similar way, have a comfort, have an excitement
or
of watching
desire
a football game.
Fulfilled. Yeah.
So it's good that I had to sacrifice that entire football season of watching in order to have to invest in doing ministry and just spending time with people. Like, even just taking the religion part aside, like, it forced me to say, like, okay, I want to be more than just about myself. I want to be a person who's for other people. And I think that's where religion really comes into a strength of religion really comes into play, where it really, like, living a Christian life calls you outside of yourself. My Catholic religion doesn't call me to just like be spiritual on my own and then I just go live my life outside with other people. Like, the challenge
bleeds into it. Like that intentionally bleeds into it.
So that the challenge is, like, it has to show, otherwise I'm not actually, like, I may be Catholic by virtue of my baptism, but I might not be Catholic by virtue of my actions. And the disparity there is, like, sometimes like, oh, well, I saw this person do XYZ and they're Catholic. Like, well, but they're not actually living in accordance with what they're supposed to be doing, according to what they profess. So the discontinuity of their belief and their actions. So it's hard. I think we're all hypocritical in the fact that we all sin and fall short of the glory of God. But I think idols find a way into our lives because we allow them to be there. So that brings me kind of to my next question.
Oh, nice.
Of how can you identify idols? How do you identify something that's wrong?
I was just reading this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that you can be aware of it, right? Like my football thing. I became aware that, oh, wow, I'm way too attached to this thing that I want to not be with people, not do work for the Lord, and I want to just go be by myself and enjoy the thing. So how do I put myself in situations where I don't know how to discover these hidden faults in myself? How do I do that?
Yeah, so I think, like, sitting down and thinking about, like, what am I going to fast from? We're recording this in the middle of Lent, so if you haven't started, well, by the time this comes out, it's Easter. Anyway, I think that's a good indicator if you feel a refusal of, like, oh, but I don't want to give that up. I don't want to give up coffee. If you need coffee to, like, stay awake for your drive to work, okay, that's something else. Obviously, like, there is a physiological sense to that. But let's say, like, oh, I don't want to give up chips. You don't need chips in your life. So maybe you should give it up.
But I need chips for my drive to Chipland.
Oh, maybe don't go to Chipland. Okay, anyway, but the following chapter in the Catechism says, idolatry not only refers to false pagan worship, it remains a constant temptation to faith. Idolatry consists in divinizing what is not God. Man commits idolatry whenever he honors and reveres a creature in place of God, whether this be gods or demons, for example, Satanism, don't do that, power, pleasure, race, ancestors, the state, money, or etc. Jesus says you cannot serve God and mammon. Many martyrs died for not adoring the beast, refusing even to simulate such worship. Idolatry rejects the unique lordship of God. It is therefore incompatible with communion with God. I'll read this one. Or actually, I'll say that for later during the
Action.
conversation.
Yeah, that's basically what we've been saying.
I think prayer is a huge part of it. In your prayer, like going into prayer, being very humble and honest,
Mm-hmm.
and leaving space for the Lord to speak into your heart, like, I need you to let go of these things. Or I need, even if it's not a terrible thing, right? Like, I don't really know if you're making chips an idol, but it could be your trying to fill a void with food and snacks that you're not paying attention to, or you're just being gluttonous.
So shouldn't go to Chipland?
No. And it's hard. I feel like it's difficult. I think comfort is the one that I struggle with the most, where it's like hard for me to discern, like, am I putting this before like a sacrifice that God is calling me to, or like is pushing myself to, would it go too far if I push myself in this way, or like am I good to just be like, I can't admit that I can't do that.
Yeah, I think obviously pride is the root of pretty much all sins. And pride in this circumstance is definitely the root of all
excuse me, sorry.
idolization. No, you're fine. Of all idolization, it starts with pride, right? Because that's what Adam and Eve did. They, before the fall, they loved God and God loved them, and there was harmony in that relationship. And then they placed knowledge, like a hidden knowledge, above their relationship with God, right?
Yeah.
And that's just, it's sad that like they sinned, but what was happening right before the sin that allowed that sin to happen was internally they didn't. I would argue, I haven't really heard people talk about this, so if there's other smarter people out there, but I would argue that Adam and Eve's fall is a product of them lacking in prayer and lack, because the only way that I can become more humble, the only way that I can become more sanctified is if I'm praying and is if I'm spending time with the Lord. And I notice whenever I drift away from the Lord or start to pull away, just being distracted with work or with whatever's going on
even
in the day,
as good intention, like good things,
and I'm spending less time honoring God, I feel that distance and I feel a vulnerability to whatever, being more outbursts of anger or prioritizing things in the day and losing sight of my relationship with the Lord. And then all of a sudden I'm realizing like, oh, I got to this point where now, how did I get this far away from the Lord? And now I'm making these silly, stupid decisions.
Yeah.
It's like, well, because the reason I drifted, it was because the bond of that relationship is prayer, is communing together in prayer. So yeah, I think I would pose kind of an idea of like maybe Adam and Eve's fall was a product of them not investing in that relationship with God and their prayer, and kind of a slow, maybe innocent, unforeseen drifting in that pride of like, oh, everything's good in our relationship, so we're not going to try that hard. And then time goes by, then all of a sudden we realize,
that's what happens in marriages, right? Where people are like busy with kids and it's been intended, maybe, like, oh, couples fight, and if you're not fighting, someone's hiding something.
Fight, argue, whatever you describe it as.
Yeah, like having disputes, fight. It's fight.
Yeah.
But like maybe you haven't spent any time with your spouse. 10 years later, you're like, wait, who is this person? 18 years later, all the kids, or whatever, 20 something years later, maybe you have multiple kids, you are empty nesters and you're just like, wait, have no idea who this person is anymore. And then that's why there's a higher chance of divorce or a higher rate of divorce post children.
Yeah.
Which is like really sad to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really
even
good
for
analogy,
us. Like, we are very busy. We have a very excited and energetic toddler. And we forget to check in with each other throughout the day. And I don't have a full-time job. So it's like, and we're only a few years married.
Yeah.
It's easy for people to just coast.
Yeah. And I think that's why marriage is a beautiful sacrament, because you start to see the simple truths of the spiritual life portrayed practically in your own relationship.
Yeah, when I am not praying, I'm like, why did he do that? What did it do? Why did she do that? She, meaning our daughter. Like, because she's 1.5 Delaney.
Yeah.
Why did I do that? We live with my parents too. And my brother, I'm like, oh, they're getting on my nerves and blah, blah. I'm like, why?
Mm-hmm.
Why are they getting up? And then I sit down, like, it's because I haven't sat with the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. I mean, in how busy society feeds us, like, that we should be, it's hard not to be like, I need to slow down, sit down, be quiet, be with the Lord, chill for a little bit. But I feel like it's hard because I feel like no one talks about that or even makes space for that. I don't know.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, were you going to bring up the readings that you read yesterday? Or that we read yesterday? The daily readings?
Yes, I do want to find that.
They're very good readings. Or do you have something else that you wanted to ask?
Was that Thursday?
No.
Yesterday.
I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
Excuse me, I just burped. American Idol.
Was it yesterday?
I don't remember anymore. All the days blend in together.
Honestly, yeah.
This podcast is sponsored by my brother for watching our daughter. So shout out to my brother. He's also an artist. So I will link his Instagram in the bio. But if you don't see that, then his Instagram is BB Draws. B as in boy, B as in boy, draws. And he does like I can show you. He drew this for our daughter because he knows that Rick and I love Star Wars, and specifically we love Ahsoka. So he drew this. Oh, there's a glare. He drew this for Penelope's our daughter, nursery, but he had a copy, so we have it here. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool.
For some reason I can't find the
That's
reading.
all right. Oh, that's so cool. Sorry. I'm getting distracted.
No, you're fine.
Anyway, do you have another question?
Yes, I do.
What's your question?
So what is like an antidote or guidance that the church offers to idols in our lives? Is there anything in the catechism?
In the catechism? Well, I'll just read this last paragraph under idolatry. How do Australians say idolatry? Idolatry.
I don't know. Call Matt Fried.
Anyway, so the last paragraph reads, human life finds its unity in adoration of the one God. The commandment to worship the Lord alone integrates man and saves him from an endless disintegration. Wow. Idolatry is a perversion of a man's innate religious sense. An idolater is someone who transfers his indestructible notion of God to anything other than God. Wow.
Mm.
Not that it pertained to your...
No, it kind of did. Read the first half of that again.
Human life... I'm just kidding. Human life finds its unity in the adoration of the one God. The commandment to worship the Lord alone integrates man and saves him from an endless disintegration.
Okay, one more time.
Human life finds its unity in the adoration of the one God. The commandment to worship the Lord alone integrates man and saves him from an endless disintegration.
That's really interesting. It integrates man. So like this, yeah, I just think that's really interesting.
I think it goes back to... I just reminded myself of that one that one parody video of that guy auditioning, and his like talent is speed reading.
I'm the fastest
reader in the world.
Can read a 900-page book in
10 seconds. Yeah, and then he's just like...
But you gotta flip the pages. I
couldn't even flip the page. To be fair, these are like Bible pages and they're really thin.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was gonna say is that it reminds me of my favorite paragraph. Oh my gosh, my brain. My favorite paragraph of the Catechism, and it's paragraph 27, titled "The Desire for God." Actually, the chapter title is Man's Capacity for God. It just seems really epic. Anyway, 27 reads, the desire for God is written in the human heart because man is created by God and for God. And God never ceases to draw man to himself. Only in God will he find the truth and happiness he never stops searching for. So I feel like the paragraph we read about idolatry reminds me of that, because it, like, we are designed in the latter part of that paragraph. It says like we're designed to be religious. Where are you putting your religion, right? Like we kind of joke saying like sports is like a religion at this point.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, because there are people who we know like that are scheduled to play or practice on Sundays.
In the morning.
Or also scheduled to play on like Mother's Day and Father's Day. I want to throw a brick through a window. That just screams to me like we've made sports a religion.
An idol, yeah.
Yeah. And it's bad because like all these kids, they just want to play sports.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it's
that's
not
not a bad
for
thing.
Wanting to have fun and be competitive.
No,
those aren't bad
those
things.
are actually good things.
Yeah.
But it's these people who organize things. Like, why do you have to detract from family time? Especially on things like Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Yeah, I think in my household growing up, my mom had a good sense of focus of like, she taught us that like the reason you should be family is the reason you should be missing other things. You shouldn't be doing other things, and that be the obviously you don't have to always spend time with your family, but like for instance, Mother's Day or Father's Day,
Yeah.
Christmas Day, or whatever, like typical things where you should be with your,
Family.
you would expect people would be with their family. Like if you're playing a club sport, travel sport, and that's the reason you're missing some of these days with your family, like obviously to each his own, but you might be playing into a system that's pulling people's focus away from families and essentially saying culturally we don't value family time. Culturally, we don't value Mother's Day. We don't value Father's Day. We don't value Sundays, which are historically over the last 100 or so years has been a day where people have spent time with their families and businesses weren't open, right? And then all of, it's not just socially, right? Commercially too.
Oh yeah.
People are trying to make more money, and why have an entire day where you're not making money? Obviously there's a temptation, and it seems like the upside is very large in terms of a material gain, and there's not credence given to what the downside is, because like, well, the downside is just like a business is open and people are working.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody might argue secularly, like, what's the problem with that? The problem is you're setting a precedent for your generation and the generations to come,
that you work
saying that
on Sundays.
There is no day in which humanly we take time to congregate together, to be socially, relationally focused. Like that should be our job.
A lot of places here aren't even closed on like Christmas.
Yeah.
Or Thanksgiving or something like that. And I get it, like not everyone celebrates Christmas.
Yeah.
But even like people that I know that aren't Christian.
Yeah.
Because it's become so Americanized, like, or I guess westernized. Even if you're not Christian, people like know like, oh, it's Christmas break.
Yeah.
Or winter break. We're going to go spend time with family.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good grand old time, but no.
Yeah. And I think that's when there's nothing in our culture currently to curb like this insatiable desire to fill our time with something. This goes back to what we were reading in the Catechism of like, mankind is designed for this upward gazing is a phrase that I hear a lot more philosophically, right? Adoration. This desire to be like, I want to achieve something. I want to excel, and there's something that I need to reach towards. And these things that we fill our lives with can temporarily fill that desire. Mm-hmm. I watched this video of this guy who he started a lot of businesses. He made a lot of money. He even played like college sports, Division I. So he was saying in the video, like, I've had a lot of success. Mm-hmm. I've started businesses. I've competed, right? So in a lot of facets of his life, he's achieved. Mm-hmm. But he said he just turned 36, and he realized like pursuing all of these things really was like kind of an addiction or an obsession. And then he would have a successful business and become bored. So he sold the first one. I think he said he started 6 businesses. And he tried sports, Division I, things didn't work out or whatever. But it's like he also kind of got bored of that. So he opened a gym and he got really big into fitness. And he got bored with that. So it's like if the adoration that you're using your life and your time to adore, right? What I spend all of my time and my money and my effort on is essentially what is in that highest spot.
I think, sorry, continue.
No, I was just going to round out my thought by saying, like, it's problematic when my faith, which should be at the forefront of my life, is like a second thought or an afterthought, where it's like, oh, I have sports this weekend and I'm going to have a whatever match or meet or whatever on Sunday. How am I going to fit in my religion to my sports?
Sorry.
Is essentially, no, you're fine. Is essentially how our culture talks now, right? Mm-hmm. We're like, oh, how am I going to fit mass? It's like, great. I'm glad that you're fitting in the obligation of going and communing with your God.
The next step would be
right?
let's reframe our mind work.
Yeah, it should be,
God,
I have
then
mass this
everything
weekend.
around. Yeah.
How me as a scheduler, or if I'm in charge of this club sport thing, how am I going to fit this match thing in to be respectful of other people's religion and other people's families, right? There's not that attitude. It's I would say it's almost impossible to do that just because of how occupied people's time is. But that doesn't give us license. And this is the crux of my idea is like, I don't think our society has any sort of way to curb or way to call that into check and say, this behavior is bad, we should stop doing this. Nobody's out there saying that. There's no function, there's no organization, there's nothing that can rein that in, that behavior. And I think more and more it's becoming a destructive behavior to families, to people's faith, and to our culture in general. It's like our culture shouldn't just be the culmination of be good at sports and achieving. Like, that's not culture.
Are you sorry?
Yeah, I'm done.
I want to point out, when you're talking about this guy who started businesses and stuff, as it said in the first paragraph that we read about idolatry, like, idols are empty. They don't have eyes. They don't have face. They don't give you anything like really substantial. And then in comparison to the life-giving God that we have, like you said, this guy had these businesses, which anyone, me included, if I had a successful business, I'd be like, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
But like, it's a good thing, but he got bored.
Yeah.
It's like, we watched Squid Games recently. And at the end, spoilers if you haven't seen it. Also, if you haven't seen it, it's been out for a while, so I thought we were probably kind of the last ones to see it. But the last episode of season 1, again, spoilers, the main character finds out that one of the characters that he was playing the games with, another contestant, was actually in charge of Squid Games, and he was dying, the old man, the other contestant. And the main character is like, why'd you do it? Like, why do you put us through this? Why are you killing all these people? How are you doing it? What's wrong with you? And he was like, when you have money like me, you just have, like, you don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, he said we both have the same problem. You have no money, and I have more money than I know what to do with.
And we're both...
and he said there are other people like me who just didn't know what to do with all of their money.
Just bored. He created this demonic game of people killing each other and and contestants getting killed after playing yard games. And people, like, these people called VIPs watching the games and like taking joy from like men and women, and arguably some like young
kids,
like not kids, but like teenagers or young adults getting massacred, either by their fellow contestants or their guards, all the while like fornicating with these sex slaves that they also have. It's just very disturbing. But my point being is that they obviously had to continue to do it because it was just, and the old man even said, like, the main character asked him, like, why did you join if there's a risk of you dying? He was like, because even watching it got boring. Ugh.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point of like
very empty. Like you won't feel fulfilled in things that you make idols.
Yeah.
What is fulfilling is sacrificing for the Lord, like sacrificing to be virtuous. I was thinking about this the other day where I'm struggling a lot, like I said, with like comfort. Like, what is the line between I'm struggling with my health, and so sometimes I'm very incapable of like tending to our child, which is a part of the reason why we discerned to move in with my parents because they're very hands-on, praise God, and my brother. And so if I'm not feeling good, like they will jump in and I know that she's taken care of. But like it's hard for me to see like where that line is of like, do I need to push myself and sacrifice for this? Like, and just over, like, kind of just mind over matter. Like, I'm willing myself to not to like ignore this pain. And when do I need to like, okay, you cannot keep pushing yourself.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about this the other day, and I was asking the Lord, like, can you help me to very quickly discern every day, like, what I need to sacrifice, what comforts I need to sacrifice. I love art. I think it's very like life-giving to me. I don't have a lot of time for it. We have a lot of irons in the fire, as you would like to say, where we're trying to do a lot of things. I'm supporting Rick in his own endeavors. We're doing this podcast, which I primarily like edit, post for, etc., which I'm happy to, but then that all takes away from time that I get to like make silly little art things. Not silly little art things, but art things. And like I realize like I can sacrifice some of that so that I can make a nice nutritious breakfast for the family, so that we can help my dad with things around the house, so that I can read to my toddler for like an hour. Well, not she wouldn't last 10 minutes.
You try for an hour.
You can try for an hour. Yeah, you can trap her in her room and try to chase her around her room. But anyway, I think your question was like, what's an anecdote?
Not anecdote. Antidote.
Anecdote.
Here's an anecdote.
So like, what's a way to resolve the issue of creating idols in your life? Prayer. Yeah. I think for my fellow parents out there, learning how to pray unceasingly is crazy, but also really key for your entire day. Because I find myself more and more with less time to just like sit down, make my coffee or matcha, have my time. Like, we also live in a house of, I mean, I don't know how many people are in here. I can't count. 6, duh. And everyone has their own routines and everyone's doing their own thing. And then like maybe someone won't notice if you're in the common area that you're praying and you have your Bible out. Yeah. So they start talking to you. Then you're like, oh, okay, well that kind of messed up the zone. Or our toddler knows if one of us isn't outside in the living room or in the kitchen, then they're probably in the bedroom or in the bathroom. And if the bathroom light isn't on, she knows you're in the bedroom. Yep. And she'll come knocking.
She'll knock with her little hand.
Yep. She's like, Dada? Mommy? And it's like, how do I say no to that? Then you're just like out of the zone again. So what I've learned is that learning how to pray throughout the day, saying small things like, Jesus, I trust in you. Jesus, please help me. Come to my aid. Or like one of my friends and I, we used to say this a lot. We're like, Jesus, make haste to help me. So we're so woeful. Yeah. But doing those things, or like praying like, okay, Lord, do I do this or do this? Do I spend time folding the laundry, or should I use this time to like make art or just rest because we're usually tired? Or do I do this? Learning how to pray throughout your day will show you like, okay, I can put that away. I can sacrifice that even for the day.
Yeah, and I think it's important to having some time to sit and pray. That's why we're reading the daily readings. Yeah. Just because you need some of a baseline, and then you can go through the day. But like for me too, I'm glad that you brought that up, like praying through the day, because I've found for myself that I have more success through the day, like maintaining like a good prayerful
composure.
but just finding small things to fast from. So I'll notice like, okay, I'm eating or something and I'm still hungry. I could eat another plate or something. I'm like,
I think about that too.
I'm not going to do that. And then by not choosing to do that, and whenever I remember that little bit of hunger, that'll be my reminder of like, no, I'm doing this to like maintain my awareness of my love and dependence on God, knowing that like I don't need to just be comfortable and stuffed right to the gills. So I've done little things like that, or just like, oh, there's some mess here or something like that, where it's like, I don't want to do that and I don't need to, but I'm going to do that.
I literally thought that yesterday when we were getting ready for bedtime, our toddler's bedtime.
Yeah.
Which kind of bleeds into our bedtime because then we start a bedtime routine. But I looked at the living room and I'm like, I know no one cares if it's a mess. And I was like, dang, that means I should clean it.
Nice.
So I did. I didn't want to. I could have just sat there. And everyone, my family's very gracious to me where they're like, yeah, if you need a rest, like they understand like I'm not physically really at my peak, I would say. So they're very patient with me and very gracious to me. But like that makes it hard for me to also be like, I should sacrifice this. I should do this hard thing.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point too. Like even if you're not doing well, you're not feeling well, there's still ways in which we can sacrifice little things or find a way to use that difficulty and it becomes a vehicle which turns us
outward,
like directionally outward.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the danger that I see happening in our society as we secularize more and more. And even within like practicing Catholics, the more we compartmentalize our faith and our religion as just like this little part of ourselves, the less we actually go outside of our comfort zone or outside of the space which we feel confident. So like for me too, I feel like that's an antidote that I use in my life is sacrificing small things. First praying early in the day, using that as a baseline. Then from there, remembering that there's little things throughout the day I can offer up. And that helps me to stay grounded and humble. Obviously, neither of us are perfect at that.
No. I am not.
But yeah, I definitely feel like it's helped me grow leaps and bounds in terms of like just not being selfish with my time. I mean, when I was younger, like I'd play video games and not really think about other people. And now I think back to those times where like, I just wasted so much time. I could have like gone and done this, or I should have spent time with that person, but I was just selfish. And what good did that do me being selfish and hoarding my time and my comfort? Like it didn't do me any good. Cool.
Do you have any other
No,
questions?
that's it.
I want to end on this.
Okay.
Because you talked about praying throughout the day. How many of us, parents and non-parents alike, like to take our phones into the bathroom and scroll? I did this thing this last week where I put a rosary that hangs on the doorknob facing our toilet. And I told myself, get off your freaking phone, stop scrolling through TikTok when you're using the potty, and pray a decade. And see how much time you'll actually spend on that toilet.
Yeah.
Not a lot. Even if you pray a decade, like that's quick.
Yeah, it's only like
a minute, 2 minutes.
Minute, 2 minutes.
So that's really helpful too, where it's just like thinking of, and I think about certain people. Do I do it perfectly? Absolutely not. Sometimes I edit reels, quite honestly, on the toilet. I'm like, that's why I disappear for a while. I'm like, well, I gotta use it, so I might as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing for parents.
You think you can escape, but our toddler always finds us.
And the only way to escape is to lock yourself in the bathroom.
No, she still finds you.
Oh, no, I know she finds you, but it's like that's the only way you can get away. Is like just.
But can you though? Because then especially she's a daddy's girl. She will die on the hill of chasing daddy around the house. If he's in the bathroom,
I have to sneak away.
And she finds that he's in the bathroom, she will wait out there.
Yep.
And she will knock until he comes out.
Ta-da.
Yep. It's so cute. But anyway, it's a good it's a good way to kind of break up your day with some prayer. If it's hard for you to remember, like, I should be praying throughout the day. Where it's like, oh, I gotta go potty. Mm-hmm. Oh, look, a rosary staring at me in the face.
Yeah.
I should do that. Even if it's just a decade, I do that.
Yeah. I definitely think as Christians, as Catholics, we need to reclaim like prayer throughout the day, right? Catholics used to pray the Angelus.
I want to get back to that. I
some
love
people used to, I mean, some people still do this, but some people used to pray the Liturgy of the Hours. So you're praying different prayers. That's all from Scripture throughout the day that all correlate together. And
that's something we could really learn from Muslims, because they do the 5 prayers.
The discipline and the rigor of that. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is the tool is there. We just aren't using it.
Yep.
It's like, oh, I could use this really nice saw, but I'm going to use this butter knife to try to cut this thing. Like, well, why are you doing that? Well, it works. Yeah, but it can take it's a lot harder to make things work that way. And I think that's something we need to let go of in terms of, again, pride and an idol in our culture. Like our collective culture thinks like, oh, you just need to work hard and, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And while that attitude is great for like practically sustaining yourself, we're neglecting the spiritual need to be sustained as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we're a spirit and a body. We're not just one or the other. We're a composite of the two. We're not a spirit trapped in a body, and we're not a body that just houses a spirit.
Prison.
Yeah.
I love that meme.
We're both. We're the two together. Our spirit is what illuminates our intellect and helps to animate our body, because without my spirit, my body would be a corpse.
Yeah.
It would be a dead corpse. So yeah, I think we need to, especially because we're so focused on, like we said, on like sports, athletics, but like also just like fitness. Like we have a discipline there. This is something St. Paul was really good at when he went to Greece. And he was talking to them because their culture understood, like they had the Olympics. They were all very, as well, similar to us, they were very focused on like achievement and athleticism. And he said, run that you may obtain the prize. Obviously, the prize being like eternal life and our relationship with God. But he was using this imagery of a race. He was using the imagery that they would understand, trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And this is our earthly race. It's a spiritual and a physical composite journey.
Trying to become a saint.
And like I said from the beginning, Sips with Saints. Being on that balance beam, or that teeter-totter seesaw, and trying to find that balance. You have one foot on either side, and you have to have your relationship with God balanced with your relationship with all of the things that are happening in your life. Mm-hmm. You put too much weight onto one side, and now you're living a very uneven life. You can't just live for God and neglect my relationship with you or Penelope, because if I spent all my time praying and neglected the duties,
even hermits have a balanced life.
Yeah. So it's striking that balance and finding a way to daily return to that.
Yeah.
Cool. Through prayer.
Fasting and almsgiving.
There you go.
Actually, honestly, truthfully though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If your life is all out of whack and things are messed up, pray every day. Read one line of scripture, because that's an easy thing to commit to. Fast from your favorite go-to thing, whether it's chips or a snack or something. That would be really easy in practice.
I would say if you're not dealing with anything like eating disorder tendencies or
Yeah.
health issues where you need to have these certain foods or whatever, you can fast for food. There's a reason why there's an emphasis on fasting from like food, because it is very obviously very nourishing to our body, and when we empty ourselves of that and we allow God to fill those gaps during this time of fasting. I'm not saying fast for like an entire year. Don't kill yourself, obviously. That's not what the Lord wants. But like fasting even every Friday from desserts.
Yeah.
Start there. You don't do it every day. And maybe the times where you're, say, like, oh, anytime I really crave a dessert, I'm going to say this prayer. Jesus, I trust in you. Currently my favorite prayer. Or Jesus, Jesus, I trust in you. Take care of everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
really
because
good.
If you do pray every day, if you do fast regularly from things that held a lot of importance in your life, and if you give financially to charities, it's like, wow, I could just be hoarding this money, but I know I'm going to give, and it's going to hurt the fact that I have to
not
maintain
buy
my budget. Yeah, and so it's like, if you do these three things for a considerable amount of time with a concerted effort of like, I'm doing these things in order to not be so self-consumed and turning my inward thoughts, inward desires towards God. Like, that's an important part too. Prayer, fasting, and almsgiving with that directional of like upward gaze, you will see a difference. That's why we have this practice of Lent every year. That's why fasting, prayer, and almsgiving have been part of the church forever. Even in the Old Testament, you see, Noah goes and he's preaching that they all need to pray and fast and throw ashes on their head. And they do it, and the entire city sees a benefit from that in Nineveh. So if you're trying to turn your life around, be radical, do something radical, but be practical.
Do the hard thing.
Be practical in your radicalness.
Practical and radical.
Practical in your radical.
And it's still worth it, even if you fail at something every day. I have not a clean record of all the things that I said I would do and not do this Lent. Oof. But that's humbling. Yeah. Gotta keep doing it, though. I'm not going to give up. Yeah. The point of Lent or any kind of fasting is to not, like, the point shouldn't be like, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to do it all. I'm going to do it all perfectly. The point is to look at Christ and you're making space for him in your life so that he can come fulfill those places. Yeah, it's not a game that you lose if you falter on one thing. It's not Mario. We were just playing Mario over there. So, and it's something that you can, even if it's Easter or Monday after Easter, like, every day is an opportunity to continue to find a way to make room for God in your life. Yeah. Sorry, I keep swinging this around. No, that's fine. It's like my fidget book right now. Yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts? Idols. Get rid of them. Oh, throw them out the window. The painting. Final thought. There's this great painting. I think it's called what is it? The one we got for our wedding. We got the two big prints of. Oh, it's the Christ's victory over pagans. Yes. That one? Yeah. What about it? I feel like that's the thumbnail we should use for this. So it's really cool. It's like Jesus is like up in the clouds. I see what you're saying. All of these angels. Yeah. And then there's literally all of the pagan. So future Delane, edit that into the. There's all of these pagan gods like underneath just being crushed. And it's during the resurrection. I think is kind of how Christ is depicted. Like, I've seen him in resurrection. With the light and everything behind him. Yeah. So that's true. We did get that for our wedding. Destroy all of the idols, all of the false gods. And what we can do
if we have a modern interpretation, we'll just paint in all of the modern idols.
Stop. You're trying to...
TikTok will be in there.
It's a lot of work for me.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for listening to our podcast, episode 1, which is really exciting. If we don't have 20 subscribers on YouTube yet, by the time this comes out, if you do subscribe and you're one of the first of 20, then we will mail you a free sticker of our logo. And you can come support us. For supporting us, not coming to support us. Yeah, and if there's anything that you struggle with, like idols or whatever, we all do, so don't feel ashamed. Or if you have a glory story of being freed from an idol or something like that, or you just have a comment that you would like us to read and or maybe feature in the next podcast episode, please drop them in the comments below. Yep. Otherwise, we'll see you next time, folks.
You gotta do a cheers.
Oh, yeah, we do. It's always this mug. You always choose this mug.
Adult.
Cheers. Thank you for watching. Roll that music. But